Good morning, children. Welcome to our next class of botany. Today, we are going to start with the second unit, plant morphology and taxonomy of angiosperm. Now, what do you understand by the word morphology? Morphology means external appearance. Okay, so here we are going to study about the external appearance of the plants. So this we will be studying under two types of morphology, that is the plant morphology is classified into two headings, that is the vegetative morphology, and which will be studying about the external features of the vegetative part of the plants, that is the root, stem and the leaves. Next we will be studying about the reproductive morphology. Okay, that is the part of the plants which are involved in reproduction. So what are the parts? The inflorescence or the flower, the fruit as well as the seed. So that we'll be studying in morphology. Now here next part of this unit we will be studying about the taxonomy. Taxonomy means a science which deals with the classification. Okay, so here we are going to study about the taxonomy of angiosperms. So here already we studied in the previous lesson what are angiosperms. They are the group of plants in which the seeds are produced. Okay, and these seeds are enclosed by the fruit wall, that is the ovary is present there. Okay, so here the angiosperms we already studied. They are the flowering plants which produces the seeds which are enclosed by the ovary. Okay, so here in this unit we will be studying about the morphology of the plants, and based on that morphology how these angiosperms they are being classified we will be studying here. So let's start with the new lesson. The study of various external features of organs is known as the morphology. So here what is morphology? It is the study of external features of the organism. On simple basis we say this is the morphology. Now what is plant morphology? It is also known as external morphology, that deals with the study of shape, size and structure of plants. Okay, so here what is the shape of the plant? Okay, what is the size? Next, what are the structures seen in the plant and their parts like the root, stem, leaves, flowers, fruits and seeds. Now study of morphology is important in taxonomy. What is the need of this morphology that we are going to study now? So first importance of studying this morphology is in the taxonomy. Taxonomy, as I told you, it is the classifying of the flowering classification of the plants. Okay, or classifying the organism into small groups, that is called as taxonomy. So here first uses this by knowing this morphology we can classify the organism. Next, morphological features are important in determining the productivity of the crops. Okay, it is also essential. The study helps us to know the production we are going to get from the plant. Next, morphological characters indicate the specific habitats of living as well as the fossil plants and help to correlate the distribution in space and time of fossil plants. So next advantage of this studying this morphology is it helps us to know the specific habitat where these organisms are found or where they were present earlier. Okay, next feature is morphological features are also significant for phylogeny. Phylogeny means study about the evolutionary history. So here these are the needs of studying of the morphology of plants. Plant morphology can be studied under two broad categories. They are vegetative morphology and reproductive morphology. So what is this vegetative morphology? They includes the morphology or the external features of the vegetative parts, that is the shoot system and the root system. Shoot system means what? The part of the plant part which is above the soil. So what does it include? It includes the shoot, it includes the that is the stem, the leaves, that we will be studying in the shoot system, and root system the part of the plant which is under the soil. So here the roots and its branches, that we will be studying in the root system. Now reproductive morphology, it includes the flower or inflorescence. Okay, so what is the arrangement of the flower? Next the fruit and the seed, so that we will be studying in the reproductive morphology. So here first in this lesson we are going to study about the vegetative morphology. Vegetative morphology deals with the study of shape, size, and structure of plants and their parts like roots, stems, and leaves. To understand the vegetative morphology, the following important components are to be studied. So, plant morphology, that is the vegetative morphology, we are going to study under the heading habit, habitat, and lifespan. So, first is habit. Now, what is this habit? The general form of a plant is referred as habit. Okay, so that is the general nature of the plant, that is called as the habit. Based on the habit, plants are classified into herbs, shrubs, climbers, and trees. Now, what are these herbs? So here, the habit, nature of the plant, what type of plants they based on that they are being classified into four groups: herbs, shrubs, next climbers, and trees. So first one we will study first habit, that is the herbs. Herbs are the soft stem plants with less wood or no wood. So wood is what, the hard part where the secondary growth is taking place. So in the herbs there is no wood is present, or very less wood is present there. So here the stem of the plants belonging to the herbs, they are soft. Example, Phyllanthus amaris, Cleome viscosa. So according to the duration of their life, they may be classified as annuals, biennials, and perennials. Now here the duration for how long these plants they are grown, they are being classified into annuals, biennials, and perennials. Annuals means those plants which complete their life cycle within a year. Biennials, the plants which complete the life cycle in 2 years. Perennials means the plant which complete the life cycle in many years. Perennial herbs have a bulb, corm, rhizome, or tuber as the underground stem, and they are termed as the geophytes. So perennial herbs means they are the herbs which grow for many years. So they have the special structures. They are the bulb, corm. Okay, so bulb, corm, they are what? They are the reproductive structures. Okay, vegetative reproductive structures. Rhizome, they are the modified stem, or tuber. Tuber is also the modified stem or the root. They are the underground and they are termed as geophytes. Okay, these structures they are called as the geophytes. So perennial herbs having a bulb, corm, rhizome or tuber as the underground stem, they are termed as the geophytes. Example, allium cepa. So allium cepa is what? It's nothing but the onion. Okay, so here we have the allium cepa is an example of geophytes. Next we are going to study about the next habit, that is shrubs. A shrub is a perennial woody plant with several main stems arising from the ground level. So shrubs, so it's a perennial. Okay, the plant which grows for many years. They have woody part with several main stems arising from the ground level. Example, hibiscus rosa sinensis, that is the shoe flower or the hibiscus flower. Next, the habit we are going to study is climbers or the vine. An elongated weak stem, generally supported by means of climbing devices, they are called as the climbers. So we know what are the climbers. They are the group of plants which have a weak stem. So they for their support, for their growth, they grow on the support of other plants or any other objects. So here these weak stem plants, they are called as the climbers or the vines, which may be annual or perennial, herbaceous or woody. So here these climbers, they may be again either they can be an annual plant or they may be a perennial. Next, the stem may be herbaceous. The herbaceous means what? They will have the soft stem, okay, or woody stem. Liana. So already we studied in the previous class what are the lianas. So here we know the soft stem climbers we all have seen, we have noticed. Now what are the lianas? Lianas is a vine, that is a climber, that is perennial. So it is again a perennial, and woody. Okay, the stem here it is woody. Lianas are the major components in the tree canopy layer of some tropical forest. Now what is this canopy? Canopy is the topmost region of the trees, okay, where all the leaves are present. where the in a tree where the leaves are present, that together they forms the topmost region of all the trees together, that is called as the canopy. So here this lioness also they grow to the till the canopy. So purpose is what? To get the sunlight. So here you can find lioness are also found along with the canopies in the trees of some tropical forests. Okay, example is ventilago, entada, bougainvillea. They are all the lioness. Next, we are going to study the next type of habit is the trees. So tree is a stout, tall or perennial woody plant having one main stem, that is called the trunk, with many lateral branches. So tree is stout, tall, okay, perennial, grow for many years, woody plants having one main stem. So here one main stem will have, and it will give rise to many lateral branches. Example, mango, sapota, jack, fig, teak, etc. If the trunk remains unbranched, okay, so here we have studied the trees, they have the woody part, and that is the trunk is woody. If the trunk is unbranched, okay, as we have seen, the trunk they give lateral branches. If this trunk is not branched, they are unbranched, then that is called as caudex. Example is here is palmyra coconut. So underline that what is caudex, and in the previous paragraph you have to mark it what is lioness, also you have to mark it. So here based on the habit we have studied, it is referred to as the nature of the plant. Okay, so we have studied there are four types of habits are found. They are the herbs, shrubs, climbers and trees. Next we are going to study about the habitat. So habitat means the dwelling place, okay, where these plants they are found, that is called the habitat. Depending upon where plants grow, habitats may be classified into two major categories. They are terrestrial or aquatic. So in which place that particular plant is seen growing, that it is called as the habitat. So there are two types of habitats, in terrestrial and the next is the aquatic. So plants growing on the land, they are called as the terrestrial plants. Okay, next is the aquatic. The plants which are living in water, they are called as the aquatic. Okay, or they are also called as hydrophytes. So hydro means water, phytes means plants. The plants which are growing in water, they are called as the hydrophytes. Similarly, terrestrial plants, if based on what type of nature, this it is also called as mesophytes, xerophytes also we call it. So here we have studied based on where these plants are seen growing, they are classified into terrestrial or aquatic. Next, the lifespan. Already we studied what is the lifespan. Based on the lifespan, they are classified into three types. They are annuals, biennials and perennials. Two seasons. Growing vegetatively during the first season. So here we have studied biennials, are the group of plants which completes the life cycle in 2 years. So in the first year, that is meant for only their vegetative growth. Okay, next year they will produce the flower and the fruits, then they will die. So such type of plants they are called the biennials. Example for biennials: carrot, radish, cabbage. Third group of plants based on the lifespan is perennials. A plant that grow for many years and that flowers and set fruits for several seasons during the lifespan. They are called as the perennials. So they are the group of plants which grow for several years and they will produce several times the flowers and fruits during the lifespan. They are called as the perennials. Now, based on the number of times the fruits produce, they are classified as polycarpic and monocarpic. So, polycarpic, so when they bear fruits every year, they are called as polycarpic perennials. So, plant which produce the flowers and they produce the fruits every year, they are called as polycarpic perennials. Example for polycarpic perennials you can find here: mango, sapota, Okay, so these are the every year in the season they will produce the flowers and the fruits, then they are called as polycarpic. Next, monocarpic. Some plants produce flowers and fruit only once in their once and they die after a vegetative growth of several years. These plants they are called as monocarpic perennial. Example bambusa, agave, musa. So here you have seen the banana plant. Banana plant you have seen the banana plant they grow for many years. The vegetative growth takes place for many years. Okay. After the completion of the vegetative growth, it produces the flowers and the fruit only once. In a banana plant, you will get only once the flower and the fruits. So once the flower and fruit is produced, what will happen? The plant will start dying. So such type of plants they are called as what? Monocarpic. So what is monocarpic? They produce the flowers and fruit only once during their lifetime. Then it is called as monocarpic perennials. So here we have studied perennial plants. They are further classified into two types, polycarpic and monocarpic, based on the number of times they are producing the flowers and the fruits. So here if they produce season after season, every year they are producing the flowers and the fruits, they are called as polycarpic. The example mango. So here some plants they produce the flower and fruit only once in their lifetime, they are called as monocarpic. Example is musa. Musa is the banana plant. Next we are going to study about the parts of a flowering plant. Flowering plants they are called as the angiosperms. Already we have studied angiosperms. They are the flowering plants, or they are also called as magnoliophytes. They are the sporophytes. As we studied, the plant body is sporophyte. They consist of an axis with an underground root stem and an aerial shoot system. The shoot system have a stem, branches and leaves. The root system consists of roots and its lateral branches. Now, first we are going to study about the root system. The root is non-green. We have observed the root. The root is a non-green, cylindrical. The shape of the root, if we say it is again cylindrical. Descending axis of the plant. Descending axis means the part of the plant which grows below the soil level. Then it is said to be the descending, which is going towards the gravity of the earth. So descending axis of the plant that usually grows into the soil. Okay, so here since it is going towards the gravity of the earth, it is called as positively geotropic. Positively geotropic. It develops from the radical. So here as we know, when a seed germinates, it gives rise to the radical and it gives rise to the plumule. The radical only further develops into the primary roots. Okay, so here the development of the roots they start from the radical, which is the first structure that comes out when the seed is placed in the soil. So radical is the first structure seen during the germination of the seeds. Comes out when a seed is placed in the soil. The root is responsible for absorption of water and nutrients and anchoring the plant. So the major function of the root is what? It is responsible for absorption of the water and minerals from the soil, and it also helps in anchoring. Anchoring means fixing or holding the plant to the soil. Okay, now what are the characteristic features of the roots? It's an important one. So characteristic feature, root is the descending portion. As we know, it grows towards the gravity of the soil, so it is called as the descending part of the plant. Generally non-green in color as it lacks chlorophyll. So here the part of the roots which grows in the towards the gravity, they are usually non-green in color. Some plants you can find they have the aerial roots are present, they may be green in color. So generally commonly you can find the roots they are non-green in color because they do not have chlorophyll. Next feature, they do not possess nodes and internodes and buds. Exceptions in sweet potato and members of Rutaceae, roots bear buds which help in vegetative propagation. So here another common feature among all the roots is they do not have the nodes and the internodes. Okay, and buds. Okay, mostly this structure, these features, the nodes and internodes are absent. So this is one criteria for the identification of an underground stem and underground root. So a presence of nodes and internodes in the underground stem reveals that is a stem. Here mostly in the roots, the nodes and internodes are absent, but exception is seen in the sweet potato and members of Rutaceae. Next feature is what it bears root hairs to absorb water and minerals from the soil. It is positively geotrophic and negatively phototrophic in nature. So here, last point we have studied, they are positively geotrophic. Positively geotrophic, I told you, since the roots they grow towards the gravity of the earth, so they are said to be positively geotrophic. And since it grows away from the sunlight, it is said to be negatively phototrophic. So these are the characteristic features of the roots we have studied. So first feature we studied is the descending portion. Next we studied is usually the non-green part. Next we studied does not have the nodes and internodes. Next we studied they have the root hairs which helps in the absorption of water and minerals. And the last feature of the roots we studied, they are positively geotrophic and negatively phototrophic. Next you are going to study about the regions of the root. A root, you can see in the diagram figure 3.2. Here you can see in this diagram the roots, they have basically 4 regions are there. Okay, first is the region of cell division. That region of cell division is the region where the meristematic cells are present. Okay, since this meristematic cells, they are meant for the division. Okay, here continuously cell division is taking place, so this region is very essential for the roots. So this region of cell division is protected by a cap like structure that is called the root cap. Now behind the root cap you can find, behind the region of cell division you can find the region of cell elongation. So here the cells, the newly formed cells in the meristematic region, they will undergo elongation. So that is called as what, the region of the cell elongation. As a result only the size of the roots they increases, the length of the root increases. Next below that is present the region of maturation. So region of maturation means where the cells will undergo the differentiation in their work. Some cells will become xylem, phloem, some cells will form the epidermal tissue, some will form the cortex region, some will give rise to the root hairs, etc. So that is the region of the cell maturation. So in the region of cell maturation only you can find the root hairs. So let's study about the regions of the root, an important topic. Root tip is covered by a dome-shaped structure made up of parenchymatous cells that is called as the root cap. It protects the meristematic cells in the apex. So in the tip of the root we have the meristematic cells. That meristematic cells, they are protected by a parenchymatous cell that is called as the root cap. In Pandanus, multiple root cap is present. In Pistia, instead of root cap, root pocket is present. Pistia is an aquatic plant. In aquatic plants, instead of the root caps, they have the root pockets are present there. A few millimeters above the root cap, the following 3 distinct zones have been classified based on their meristematic activity. So based on the meristematic activity, the region behind the root caps are meristematic zone. Below the meristematic zone is the zone of elongation. Below that is the zone of maturation. So here you can see the features of this each region we are going to study here. So first feature of the meristematic zone alone we are going to study first. Meristematic zone, position of this meristematic zone is just lies above the root cap. The type of cells found here, they are the meristematic cells. Meristematic cells means what? They are actively dividing and continuously increase in number. So the cells in this meristematic region, they are in a state of continuous cell division. Function, this is the main growing tip of the root. So here this meristematic cells, they are responsible for the increase in the tip of the root, increase in the growth with the tip of the root. Next, behind this meristematic zone is the zone of elongation. So the position, zone of elongation, lies just above the meristematic zone. So type of cells present here is what? They are the elongated cells, because the newly formed cells, they are in a state of elongation. The cell increases the length and causes the enlargement of the root. So here the zone of elongation, so what is happening, it is helping in the increase in the length of the root. The third zone is what? The zone of zone of maturation. So here it lies above the zone of elongation. So position is, it lies above the zone of elongation. Now type of cells found here, it is what? They are mature differentiated cells. Differentiated cells means what? Now the cells in this region, they are divided in such a form, they have changed the form to perform a specific function. So as I told you, so in the differentiation means the form is changing, the shape or the form of the cell is changing to perform a specific function. So here some cells will become protective cells, that is the epidermal cells. Some will form the vascular tissue cells, that is the xylem and the phloem. They will help in the conduction and transportation of the food. So here what will happen, the form of the cells changes, followed which they will perform the particular function. So mature differentiated cells are found in this region. Next, the function is what? The cells differentiate into various tissues like epidermis, cortex, vascular bundles, and it also produces root hairs which absorb water and minerals from the wall. So here we have studied about the three zones of the roots we have studied here. So here regions of the root. So as we have studied, there are three regions: region of cell division, region of cell elongation, and region of maturation. This region of cell division is protected by a parenchymatous layer that is called as the root cap. So function of the root cap is protection of the meristematic cells. Next we are going to study about the types of roots. So basically there are two type of root system. They are the taproot system and the adventitious root system. So taproot system, the primary root is the direct prolongation of the radicle. So here in the figure you can see 3.3. In this diagram you can see one major root is present there, which is growing vertically downwards straight. Okay, so here, so they are the taproot system. Okay, that forms the taproot. So basically there are two types of root system: taproot system and the fibrous root system. Okay, so here first one we are going to study about the taproot system. Now as we have studied, the origin of the root takes place from the radicle. Radicle from where we get? From the seed. The radicals, when the seed germinates, it give rise to the radicle. So here in case of the taproot, the primary root is the direct prolongation of the radicle. So here the radicle which comes out during the germination of the seed, that changes into the primary root. When the primary root persists and continues to grow as in dicotyledons, it forms the main root of the plant and is called as the taproot. So here this radicals will change into primary root, and this primary root, they continuously grow. Okay, and they grow vertically downwards and they form the main root. Then it is called, as such type of root, it is called as the taproot. So taproot produces lateral roots that further branches into finer roots. So from the main root arises the branching, that is called the lateral roots. They further divide, branch to form the finer roots. Lateral roots along with the branches together, they are called as the secondary roots. Okay, so here the taproot we have studied, the radical changes into the primary root. It is persistent and it give rise to the lateral branchings with the further branching, smaller branches are present there. So that forms the secondary roots. So here this is of the taproot, and this taproot is the characteristic feature of the dicotyledonous plants. Dicotyledonous plants already we studied. They are the plants which produces the seeds which have two cotyledons in it. Okay, so in this dicotyledonous plants we have the taproot system. Next we are going to study about the adventitious root system. The roots developing from any part of the plant other than the radicle is called as the adventitious roots. So here again, as we study, the seed germinates, the radicle comes out. But in some plants, this radicle is not persistent. Okay, that will be replaced by the roots which arise from the lowest node of the stem or any other part of the plant. Then it is called as the adventitious roots. So roots developing from any other part of the plant other than the radicle is called as the adventitious roots. So the adventitious roots, they do not develop from the radicle. It may develop from the base of the stem or nodes or internodes. Example, Monstera deliquosa, Piper nigrum. Common example you can find in the grass. Okay, in the grass we have the adventitious root system. In most of the monocots, the primary roots of the seedling is short-lived and lateral. Roots arise from various regions of the plant body. There are there are bunch of thread-like roots nearly equal in size, and they are collectively called as fibrous root system, generally found in the grasses. Example, Rhiza sativa. Rhiza sativa is the rice. Leucin coracina. So here we have studied the next type of plant is what? The adventitious root system. So here this adventitious roots, they develop not from the radicle. So here in this group of plants, the radicle is short-lived. The radicle is replaced by the group of roots, bunches of roots which arises from the lowest node of the stem or any other part of the plant. Then it is called as the adventitious root system. So when these roots, they are of equal length, equal size, they are called as the fibrous root. Example is what? Rhiza sativa and grasses, etc. So here we have studied this adventitious roots. It is the characteristic feature of the monocotyledonous plant. So next topic what we studied is the types of roots. So broadly there are two types of roots. They are the taproot system as well as the adventitious root system. Taproot system, they originate from the radicle. Okay, the radicle is persistent, that develops into primary root. The primary root will give rise to the lateral branches and further small branching will take place. So that is the taproot system. It is commonly found in the dicots. Next is the adventitious roots. In this adventitious roots, the roots do not develop from the radicle, or the radicle is short-lived. After soon the radicle is replaced by the bunch of roots arising from the lowest node of the stem, that is called as the adventitious roots. When they are of equal length, they are called as the fibrous roots. So commonly found in the monocotyledonous plants, it produces the adventitious roots. Next we are going to study about the functions of the root. So basically there are two functions. The functions of the roots, they are broadly classified into two groups. They are the primary function and the secondary function. So what is the primary function? That is the basic functions. There are two types. They are what? First one we have studied, primary function of the root is absorption of water and minerals, and the second function is what? Anchoring to the soil. So here as we have studied functions of the root, they are two kinds of functions, namely primary and secondary functions. So what are the primary functions? This is the function done by all the roots. They absorb water and minerals from the soil. Second, helps to anchor. Anchor means hold the plant firmly in the soil. Secondary function. In some plants, the roots perform additional functions. They are called as the secondary function. So apart from these two functions, these two primary functions, some roots, they perform some additional work. They are called as the secondary functions. So what are the additional functions? In some plants, these roots, they provide support. In some plants, the food is stored in the roots. In some plants, these roots, they will help in the breathing purpose. So these are the additional function done by the roots. So they are called as the secondary function.